everyone, and welcome to Gran Turismo Live, where we have extremely exciting racing action coming up for you today as we enter the final stages of the 2018 GT Championship Series. I'm James Kirk, and joining me once again is a man trailblazing sim racing, e-racing on the YouTubing scene. It's Mr. Jimmy Broadbent. How are you, sir?
You're always so kind to me, James. I don't think it's warranted, but yes, thank you for the intro. Very excited to be back for yet another awesome night of Gran Turismo Sport Racing. So ready to get underway, I think.
Absolutely. Coming up, we're going to be bringing you the top 24 Superstars Nations Cup race for the Europe, Middle East and African region. So this is the final season of the 2018 series. Round 8 of 10. Crunch time is in effect. The tension is mounting as we get ever closer to finding out which competitors are going to be moving on through to the regional finals in October. We're recording live on a Saturday, the 1st of September, just if you want to be dating this, and our competitors have all been invited to race based on their points rankings. They are the top 24 Nations Cup competitors so far this season for the region, and tonight they're not just racing for any old points, but bonus points on top of what they would usually have, so a lot at risk. Jimmy, they're all going to be very keen to be back here next week, Saturday the 8th of September. That's the final top 24 Superstars race of the season, round 10 of 10, and there's more bonus points available there, so the chances they really are running out, that cannot be underestimated. We'll show you the points table in a moment, but remember that anybody from that top 24 list who doesn't take their place when it comes to the regionals, there will be a replacement found in, well, it could be 4th place, 5th place. We don't know just yet, but the main gist there is it's good to still be trying to score as many points as you can. It's all getting a little serious, isn't it, Jimmy?
I think it'd be fair to say it's been serious for a while now. I mean, you have to think of the amount of commitment these guys are putting in just to be in this top 24 race. You have to be the best of the best to be here. And then once you get to this race, you're then met with people of the same skill level.
Yeah.
So I really think that these guys, if you're not taking it seriously, I'm not quite sure how you've got this far, to be honest.
A very good point indeed. Well, Jimmy, let's quickly run through what's going on here and where we are in the championship.
So, tonight's racing, as we've seen, is part of the FIA certified Gran Turismo Championships, which are divided into 2 competitions, as you can see in your screen now, the Nations Cup and the Manufacturer Series. Now, the FIA GT Championships are global, but they're divided into 3 regions, Oceania, the Americas, and our focus for this recording, Europe, Middle East and Africa. Now, the 2018 Championships, which are the first ever, remember, are divided into 3 seasons. We started back in June, are now coming to the end of the final season here in September. The points scored in a player's best 5 rounds in this 10-round final season will decide who is invited to the 3 regional finals in October. And as James said, there are bonus points to play for tonight. From there, it's off to the World Finals in November.
Now, in the Nations Cup, the top 30 racers from each region will be invited to their regional final. It's worth noting that for the EMEA region, there will be a maximum of only 3 players per country, kind of what we were alluding to before. And from the regional finals then, 10 players from each region will make it through to the Worlds, making 30 Nations Cup competitors in total from around the world.
Now, the winners of both Nations Cup and the Manufacturer Series, they'll be invited to the FIA Gala prize-giving event in St. Petersburg in December to receive their trophies alongside the champions of all other FIA series, including F1. So an exciting moment and a proud one for all of us involved in sim racing. But it's not just a case of being the fastest. Players in Gran Turismo Sport also get rewarded for their sportsmanship and their racing etiquette, as well as driver rating points. And I have to say, we've seen a lot of clean, great racing so far in the EMEA region.
Right, now, as I said earlier, this is not a definitive list of who we will see tonight, but here are the top 24 players in the standings after proceedings on Wednesday, which was, of course, round 7.
So here we go. Here are your number 1 to 8 in the Nations Cup standing. Currently, GTP Adam, our last time winner on broadcast, leading the way, followed by TRL Manu Rodri there, Team Redline. taking up second, third and fourth positions, with Fivros and Lightning there in third and fourth. Williams Coque 14 in fifth position, with GTA Tichney in sixth, with RC Zocchi 88 seventh, and Alexani rounding out the top 8. Then from 9th to 16, we have Matu 79, someone who's featured in a lot of our broadcasts over the course of the last few weeks. In 9th with RC Afo 10th. Ruffle Waffle, which, as you said, James, I think one of the candidates for getting his name changed when he has the opportunity to do so, in 11th place, with Yomus 74 in 12th. RC Snake, his fellow Frenchman, in 13th, with Derek 737 in 14th. VP Beloff 956, I like that name, in 15th, with Maffeo Colin in 16th position. And rounding off our top 24, we have Giorgio 57, the Italian. He's ahead of Force Uobi. I think Uobi, we got told to pronounce that.
Uobi.
Yes. We got there in the end. Sorry there, Force. Apologies. We have in 19th, Jim Arosian and Fat, and then Matty and Kai in 20th and 21st. Pumpunku in 22nd, the Portuguese, with 23rd being occupied by Jay Adams, and TX3 Adam 18 rounding off our top 24.
I feel like I've been thrown under the bus. Ruffle Waffle? You be you, good sir. And let us be us very soon as well. The top 24 Nations Cup Superstar race for the EMEA region coming up very, very soon indeed. Jimmy, tell us where we're heading to tonight.
Oh, I've been practicing this all afternoon. We're going to be at the St. Croix circuit, a fancy circuit created by the clever people over at Polyphony and inspired by the glorious scenery of the south of France. It's a long circuit, almost 9.5 kilometres, with a mix of challenging corners. Now, we asked last week's winner of the top 24 superstar race, Adam Siswillo, better known as GTP Adam, our current Nations Cup leader, to record a hot lap for us, so let's take a look. So here we are then at the Circuit de St. Croix to watch GTP Adam absolutely hustle his Group 2 Lexus around this Gran Turismo Sport original track. We go on board now to give you an idea of just the speed of this car through the corners. First of all, this long right-hander into a little braking zone. Adam goes for the apex on the inside, misses it slightly though, but a good recovery using all the curb on the outside. Now watch this change direction. Wow, the car just turns in like it is absolutely no bother for it. Now for this left-hander, keep tight to the left, run the line of least resistance, and now for the pair of tricky double square right corners. Use the curb on the outside as much as you want to. Of course, go a bit too far, you might end up going onto the grass, or even worse, incurring a penalty. Now Adam moves his car to the right-hand side of the circuit. A small braking zone here before a very long left-hander. Front right tyre will suffer through here if you're a bit too harsh on your steering. Adam keeps it close to the inside before darting back to the right. Here it is. Great use of the curves by Adam there, just about getting as much as he can without running over the track limits. A long right-hander now. Again, this track is really nasty for tyre life, so drivers who are a bit kinder on their tyres are going to find themselves a bit further up the field as the race progresses. Now a long straight. Adam will keep the car over to the right-hand side, hugging the barrier like his favourite granny, and then braking hard at the curb. Car switches direction like it's absolutely nothing. Such a joy to watch a skilled driver take one of his cars around this circuit. Now, another tight right. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen there, the bridge. We are going for absolutely fantastic views around this St. Croix circuit, but you can't really take them in as we go over a crest now. Very tricky left-hander, that one. Very easy to understeer off into the barrier. But Adam's a master of this, absolutely no problem for him. Again, over to the left-hand side, as close as to the barrier as you can possibly get to open up this next corner as much as possible. A lot of Astro on the inside there. Don't cut that, that will be a penalty. The car struggling a little bit down the hill there, understeering as the gravity becomes a bit too much for it. Now a very tricky few corners through here. It's flat out through this section, but you have to get the line right. Otherwise you end up understeering off into the barrier or just being slow and messy through there. Heavy on the brakes, throw the car to the inside. Watch out for this barrier on the right. I thought we were going to hit that for a second. Such is the ability of GTP Adam here. Over the crest, coming up now to the last corner on the circuit. To the inside here, touch the curb, get a good run out of this, and you'll have a good lap time. And that is a lap on board of the Circuit de St. Croix with GTP Adam. What a lap! So interestingly tonight, as you've probably seen from that video, we're going to be racing the Group 2 cars. Imagine a category similar to DTM and Super GT, very high-speed machines with lots of downforce, bit quicker than a GT3 car, bit slower than a Group 1 car, hence Group 2. Now, after a 15-minute qualifying session today, we'll have a rolling start and then 10 laps of this track with fuel consumption set at ×7 and the tyre wear at ×10. Pit strategy round here is going to be an interesting one. We've seen some races from earlier on from the Asia region, and of course time zone differences, so they've already had their race, and we saw a mix of 1 and 2 stop strategies come into play, so it might be split down the middle. We're not quite sure which is fastest, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
No, absolutely. And it's worth noting as well, actually, that our friends over in the Asia-Oceania region, they've had their race before, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we head into the qualifying session, into the race. And, well, qualifying is already underway at Saint-Croix, and so let's switch into the game and watch the action for the EMEA Top 24 Superstars race, round 8 of the final season here of this FIA Gran Turismo Championship. And early stages, we have Zocchi 88 there, up on top. Qualifying, 15 minutes for today. Kind of expected a slight extension from what we're used to, given that we have a very long track indeed, Jimmy. But while these guys are just going out on their formation laps, going back to that point about the Asia-Oceania region, the top 2 in the Nations race, they were on different strategies. We had the winner, by the way, spoiler alert if you haven't watched the broadcast, the winner was on a 1-stop. Second place was on a 2-stop, but it must be said, the amount of work to effectively execute that 1-stop was incredible. We're talking about maximum mode 2, no mode 1 whatsoever. We're talking about short shifting at every single possibility. And we were having a look at one of the practice races of this EMEA region and looking at some of the guys coming into the pit stops on a practice 1-stop, and goodness me, were they cutting it close.
Yeah, we saw some people down to either 3 or 4 litres of fuel at the end there, which is really, of course, with the times, the multiplication of the fuel usage as well, the fuel consumption. Having that and having 3 litres left is pretty tight. It's you're not going to get to the end of the straight sort of tight. So yeah. I wonder if we're going to see a mirror of that in this race. Now we're on board with Alexoni in the Nissan Motel Alltech GTR. That's a lot to take in, isn't it?
That's a lot of names, isn't it?
Basically a Super GT car, a Group 2 car, we'll say that for this, shall we? Very awesome looking cars this. Now, one of the interesting specs of this is that the rear wing can't be any bigger than the width of the actual car in real life. So you have these little dinky wings in the back, but you have these big old body kits. So it's very interesting to see. We do have compared to last week's Nations Cup race, a bit of a mix of cars.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I've got to agree with a lot of people. It's one of my favorite categories of cars to race because not only are they high speed, but they are incredibly high downforce for the type of effectively touring cars that we're watching here. Lots of fun. Should hopefully provide a very interesting race indeed. And what we were expecting, Jimmy, was a lot of Lexi or Lexuses. And definitely looking at the early stages here, looking at the top 12 in particular, I see a lot of Altoms, and a lot of Altoms translates to a lot of those Lexuses. As we were saying actually earlier before the broadcast, they seem to be the car of choice for those who want a comfortable time. Definitely the quote-unquote easiest car to drive around this track. But looking at that Honda, looking at that Nissan, if you can drive that properly, if you can find the speed, or if you can make the strategy work in the race, those two actually may very well be the cars to be with.
Yeah, it all seems to be very close right now. But again, I think you said the Lexus may be the more approachable of the cars in this race right now. And again, look at the scenery of this Saint-Croix circuit. Now, you might have noticed in the hot lap that I said something different.
You did, yes.
Well, I got here after recording the laps, and I got a third slap on the wrist after that. Which is what happens when you try and look up a pronunciation of something you don't understand online.
Jimmy, karma is an interesting force in the universe. Hashtag justice for Bathurst. No, again, I'm getting the eyes. I really shouldn't tempt fate, should I? Okay, so we've got 7 minutes left then, and it's fascinating to me, Jimmy, just how little people have actually set a time. Only 11 there. of which we have a 7.6 second gap between P1 and P11. Now, what that's telling me is that there's a lot of people cutting the track and having to abandon their laps. They have to be careful though now, because since it is such a long lap, we are looking at 245s, 246s if you want to be in with a chance of the top 10. They've got to get something on the board, otherwise they're going to be starting right at the back.
Realistically, I think you have 2 laps.
Yeah.
Just out of time round here, including the out lap and of course in lap as well. So you're going to see people scrambling for that. Now, the problem with this circuit, I say the problem, the reason you're seeing so many penalties is because the curbs are very flat.
Yeah.
And you sort of go, oh, okay, I'm going to try and get to the inside here, try and cut a couple of tenths off my time. Maybe you go an inch or two a bit too tight in the corner, over the inside, penalty. Same with the outside as well, very easy to run wide, especially in these cars, these sort of cars, these downforce based GT cars essentially. They really encourage you to push them, like go as fast as you can. Of course, again, you then add in the fact that you're watching some of the best drivers in the region going at it right now.
Yeah.
They're going to be looking for any bit of time anywhere they can, so I think it's sort of natural we see a little bit of that come up. Something you might have noticed as well on screen is we have a bit of a different overlay now for the penalties.
Yes.
Usually we just get the sort of flashing penalty symbol and you have no idea what's going on, but now we have on screen the actual amount that they owe to the game. They have to slow down by a second or two, so not only is that great for us as broadcasters because we get some insight there, but hopefully it'll help you understand as well sort of where the cars are in terms of actual race position.
And it's an exciting time for everyone. I think, of course, we released our first full broadcasts last week, I guess, when this one's going out. I think we're aiming for Wednesday, I believe, so fingers crossed it's with you guys then. As we say, we're recording here on a Saturday, so it's still released this week for us. But so much feedback from those broadcasts, and we want to thank all of you for the, I want to say, majority kind words and excitement considering the broadcasts going out. We're listening to you. We hear your feedback, and we encourage you to keep it coming as Gran Turismo, it grows and grows and grows. We're talking about a new era of virtual motorsport here, of course. We want to make sure that we get things right, and of course, that all starts with you, the audience. So if you like what or if you like what you're hearing, what you're seeing, let us know. If you think there's a few places that we could maybe improve just a little bit, let us know, but of course in a constructive manner. As to be fair, actually most of the comments have been, so thank you all so much, and I am excited to see these penalties in the race as well. It's all fair and well looking at it in qualifying, Jimmy, but in the race we're going to be looking at the time differences and saying, oh well, not only do they have to overtake this guy now, but they've got to open up X amount of time for the gap, and that just makes our lives and hopefully your lives at home a little bit easier to understand what's going on here.
Well, as I mentioned a bit earlier on when you're having a chat before the broadcast started, is that penalties, let's take an example, 1.2 second penalty.
Yes.
It probably isn't a 1.2 second penalty that you're going to end up serving, because you have to slow down for the penalty, you're losing time while you're slowing down.
Yeah.
Then the penalty has to be served, and sort of the game goes, oh, okay, you're serving the penalty, here's the time back, then you have to speed up again. Those who are talented and know the system very well will likely time that and lose as little time as possible to that 1.2 seconds. But
yeah,
you know, if realistically, you're probably going to lose a little bit more time than that. So it's a great indicator, of course, but there's also, it's odd saying this, there's an odd skill in also serving the penalty. I mean, the easiest solution is to not get one in the first place.
Of course, yes.
But sometimes that can't be helped with a little bit of bumping and bashing going on. Here is RC Zocchi right now in that very pretty looking NSX, one of my favourite looking cars in the field. So I say that though, there is a GTR in the field, and I am a self-confessed GTR fanboy, so I'm very much, that's definitely there's one, as if on cue.
Now you take your Nissans, I'm going to take my Hondas. That NSX gets me way more excited than I probably should be over a car.
You went down that tangent there, somewhere else.
Yeah, it's such a good looking car. Props to the guys at Honda for making such a brilliant update. 2.5 minutes left then, and finally we can actually look at a more complete grid in order. Yomas 74 there, up there on top, the Frenchman with a 246.1, and actually he's someone who's looking for a bit of a bounce back from last time, because he was one of 2-3 people involved in the first corner incident in the Nations Cup EMEA race at Bathurst. It was literally turn 1, and he was already ruled out of a top 10 finish. So great speed from him. Adam and Alexei still rounding out your top 3.
I think, again, it's just a testament to how close these drivers are. We have a circuit that is nearly 3 minutes long, and our top 9 drivers are separated by less than a second. So absolutely ridiculously close. And it means for us, of course, that the race is going to be even more close. There's a couple of big straights round here. Good for slipstreaming, good for maybe catching up a little bit of time we've lost in the corner beforehand, so that'll keep drivers close. Right now it is Jonas on the pole position with TX3 Adam on a 246.3 and Alexei on a 246.5, so they're your top 3 separated by about 4 tenths per second. Of course, round here as well, we have to talk about, in terms of qualifying, that if you do get within a whiff of someone's slipstream on your qualifying lap, that could help you immeasurably. You could essentially get a free half a second following someone down the straight, of course, if they play ball and maybe get out of the way afterwards. But we mentioned a bit like this, an interesting parallel to real life, of course, with this being a tactic in current Formula 1. Slipstreaming, teammates. You get your driver out there, maybe he isn't doing so well, maybe he's your second driver. You have him drive in front of the fella behind and create a little bit of a tow for his fast lap. Now, I say that, in this, it seems to be very much every man for himself.
And why not as well, especially in the Nations Cup when spots are limited.
Exactly, so, but there you go, that could be something coming in. Some good times coming in. VP Beloff, 956, doing a 246.2, putting him second. Oh, DJ Tisney, and then followed by GTP Adam, the Brit storming to the front. GTP Adam, of course, our video from earlier, a 245.3 with Tidgney nearly half a second behind. Adam stamping down his authority in this session.
That second covering the top, what was it, 9, 10, is now only covering the top 8 because of that lap. Massive from Adam. Koke there as well. He was near the back. He's up there into P10, and qualifying's finished actually. And I look down to P22, Jimmy, and I see Lightning down
Lightning,
there.
Yes, that is a big upset for TRL Lightning, of course. One of our mainstays in this Nations Cup has always been towards the sharp end when he isn't spinning into a wall at Bathurst, of course. But that's going to be a big blow for him down in the Nissan there. And we'll be running through your grid very shortly. But interesting to see some of the names. We've got DJ Tidgney up the top there. He's sort of been there or thereabouts over the course of the last couple of races, but never really been at the ultimate sharp end. I'm sure he'll be very happy to see himself up in second place right now.
Well, he's been on the fringes of the British points scorers as well, so this could be a massive result for him. We should emphasise if he stays in that position until the end of the race.
So interestingly, we have access to the driver chat. I'm not sure you guys do on your broadcast there at home, but it is saying that TRL Lightning was actually on a lap, but I think he misjudged the time of the circuit, and he was actually up on his best time. Doesn't matter though, he didn't set the time. He's starting down at the back. Definitely one to watch.
Almost a second up. That's bold. I mean, if that is his pace, we could be in for a very, very interesting drive through the field. As here we are then, the FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championship Nations Cup from the EMEA region. It promises to be a good one here on one of our longest circuits on the calendar in Season 3. And the Circuit de Saint-Croix Variant A, by the way, there are multiple variants. Even though it's a fantasy track, I don't know about you, Jimmy, but generally those fantasy tracks always seem to provide the best races.
I was saying earlier, it's like Gran Turismo Sport go, oh, this place is a beautiful region, let's whack a racetrack on it. Wouldn't exist in real life, but that's a great thing about esport racing.
Tilke, eat your heart out. And so here then is your grid for round 8 of 10 of Season 3 in the 2018 Gran Turismo Championships Nations Cup. It's Adam on pole position. Points leader in a great position. He's joined by his fellow Brit Tidgney, making an all Lexus front row. We then meet the first of the Nissans, Yomus 74. Up there on top, Jimmy shaking his fist in delight. He's joined by a fellow Nissan, actually. Snake 91 there in P4. Baby, it's a triple. Beloff 956 there in P5. And in P6 then, we're back to the Lexi. Derek 737 there, the Czech driver, doing a pretty good job. The first of the Hondas down in P7, Zoki 88. Won't be too pleased with that, I don't think. Atho there, driving for RC in P8. We then have Adam 18, the Hungarian driving for TX3 down there in P9. And rounding out the top 10 is Kolke 14, of course, got a podium last time out, or I should say 2 rounds ago in Bathurst. He rounds out the top 10. He's followed then by his compatriot, Alexei 94, P11, and Azorian Fat, the Portuguese driver, P12. It's a real contingent of Lexi down here with Benito Raul, P13. And then Fubaros all the way down in P14. Another man I don't think is going to be too pleased with that performance in particular. Matu as well down here in P15. The penalties in qualifying taking their effects. Patom down in P16. The German driving another Lexus. And here's another one, Garassa 91, the Italian down in P17, alongside Manu Rodri, the Spaniard down in P18 as well. So many of these fast guys down the back. I'm not even going to attempt that name. Yellow, I'm going to go for 19th there with Kowalski, 81. There we go, the Swiss driver rounding out the top 20. And our final 3 drivers then, the Nissan of Kartmore, 16. The Austrian followed by Lightning, the German in 22nd. What a fascinating race ahead of him. PCM STJ rounds out our grid of 23 as we begin the first stages of this rolling start. The AI going to be taking our cars round to the start line, warming the tyres, and from there on out, Jimmy, it's all about pure human skill.
It is indeed, and of course, as mentioned before, a big factor of this race is going to be management, both tyre management and, more importantly, fuel management. Leading this race is not necessarily going to be the best move for GTP Adam. He'll be being slipstreamed by the cars behind him, but we have a long way to go before we find out how these strategies are going to ultimately unveil. Coming around to the penultimate corner now, it's going to be GT Adam leading from Tishy, leading from Jomas there, Lexus, Nissan. As we come round the last corner to start our race here at the St. Croix circuit,
Both service.
He tries his best.
Don't we all? And there you can see the lights going on there. The timing has ended. The humans take over, and we're racing here at St. Croix Variant A. Adam there leading from Tijni, leading from Yomas into turn 1. It's a very fast turn 1 in context. In order to get a little bit alongside, like Derek is doing, you need to be fully alongside on the straight. And Derek looking to make early moves here, up into P5 already, past Belov, 9.56. Already I'm wondering whether fuel modes is starting to have an effect on these cars, because remember, the 1-stop, the 2-stop, they're both very viable strategies. But if you want to do that 1-stop, it has to be mode 2 maximum. I'm sure a lot of these 2-stopping guys, they'll be looking at that and thinking, 3 overtakes on the straights. Yomas then heading round this very difficult infield section. And Jimmy, we're talking about different overtaking points. This section is not going to be one of those preferred elements, although look at Tijni. Is he losing a position there to Yomas? Yes, he is. I wonder whether he's looking for a 1-stop strategy, because here goes Yomas around the outside of turn 8. Turn 9, it then cuts back in on itself as we go through turn 10. The Frenchman, regardless of fuel mode, just pulled off a stunner.
Now, the good thing, I guess, for GTP Adam is they've held each other up. He's now been gifted about a 1.5 second lead, which more importantly would break the slipstream. So that's going to really benefit him. Jomo's looking fighty early on. Perhaps he knows that Tijni's not quite as quick in the race as he is, so he needs to get past him now. Maybe he's on a 2-stop, not wanting to get held up by someone possibly in a 1-stop. Here comes Derek to the inside there of RC Snake. Makes it look easy, up into 4th position. A good start there for Derek.
He's a man who's forgotten his wallet back in the pit garage, isn't he? He is flying around this circuit and very eager to make his way up the pecking order as quick as possible. I'm keeping an eye on him and looking at him as potentially one of our leading 2 stoppers. On board then with Belov, 9.56s already. I notice a few penalties coming in there. Zocchi, Patom, Manu Rodri, Yolo as well. A lot of these guys already with small moments. And is that Zocchi? Yeah, we can see there actually on your screens now. You'll see just how much time he has to give back. 3/10. It's not a worst case scenario, but it is really great for us because these races, they don't actually know, I believe, at least, correct me if I'm wrong, in-game, how much each of the drivers around them have. We think A little bit unclear.
I think they do have access to that. Something that I wanted to very quickly mention is that TRL Lightning, wow, Tishney gets it all sideways on the curb there. We'll go back to Lightning in a second, because that's going to now open him up to attack from Derek. We're coming into the last corner. Derek's going to look to the inside here. That all started when Tishney made a mistake. He's going to just hang it round the outside, just about kept that in front now. But another long straight coming up. Derek has the slipstream. He is not quite close enough, I think, to make a move. T1 is a very fast right-hander, not really a good spot to overtake at the best of times. But wow, that was intense there. Tidgy, I'm sure, maybe a little bit more tense after that.
So after lap 1 of 10 then, it is Adam leading from Yomas, Tidgney, Derek and Snake rounding out the top 5. Another mover and shaker down the order. I notice is Koke 14. He was starting in that mid-pack. He's made his way up into the top 10. Really decent start from him. Look at TRL Lightning. He started P22. He's up to 15th already. And I'm wondering, Jimmy, whether he's kind of been forced into a two-stop strategy there, because he needs to make his way up the field, but he's also got to consider, well, you know, if I'm overtaking cars, I'm going to have to be forced into using that Fuel 1 mode. He's already picked up another position past Azori and Fat as well. Lightning maybe, with hands tied behind the back, but trying to make the most of it.
We'll definitely watch that one with bated breath. I wonder what he is doing. In that position, you'd think, okay, right, time to turn everything up and go as quick as possible. We just lost a place there to Rosie and Fat, so actually having a fight with people is not going to be helping out whatsoever. He knows he's a bit quicker. He wants to just get up the field, of course, but no one is obligated to let him go. They're fighting for every position, for every point. It's a double header today, sorry, a double points race today, so people are really very much interested in getting as high up as possible, and there is TRL Lightning. They're just now at the head of the train, back from 14th position. His next victim, I should say, is Alex, only 94. Whether he'll get past him as easily as his other few cars, I'm not sure. A couple of penalties there in the back. You can see 3.5 seconds there on RC's Lockie. That's a big old penalty. Right now, if he lost that time, that'd be him back to about 15th, 16th place. So he's going to have to try and save that as the race goes on. Now, coming over onto the bridge. Very scenic track, this, James. I must say, no, I do enjoy, of course, a good graphics in a video game, but I find this sort of distracting. I'm trying to have a race here, and I'm enamoured by the background. Oh, what's this? And then off you go. Oh, Derek as well, looking to the inside of Tidgney once more. Looks like Tidgney not quite got the pace he had in qualifying, and Derek is really pressuring him here. We talked about pressure in the last race in regards to Lightning having his spin at Bathurst. Maybe we're seeing a bit there being applied to Tidgney in 3rd position.
A little slip up there on exit, though, means that Tidgney falls, or I should say Derek falls a little bit behind. Good news for Adam is he's already broken the slipstream to a large effect. He's now 1.6 seconds clear of Yamas. I do want to go back, actually, to the battle for P5. Snake. Well, I'm getting more impressions of the mobile game than the player himself. A long trail of cars behind him as the Frenchman tries to save him off. The first of them being Zoki 88. Of course, he's got a small, as far as we're aware, he might have picked up more penalties since we last came to him. But picking up a small penalty, he absolutely has picked up more. 3.5 seconds there, the Brit. Behind Beloff as well.
If you notice as well, James, the difference in lap times. Now, that was a 2:49 last time through compared to the qualifying laps we saw, of course. Now, in qualifying, you actually run with quite a bit of fuel. You can't really change that. Wow, okay, another car getting sideways. Now, we had some really great feedback from some of you guys over on the GT Planet forum saying about not really... a lot of guys don't run traction control.
No. Because
it's not as fast, and which is, I guess, sort of similar to real life. Traction control is there for comfort more than anything else.
Yeah.
Here, you're really seeing RC Snake and those sort of Tishney do it as well. Derek do it, getting all sorts of sideways. They're really pushing as hard as possible to try and get that traction down.
So just going through this midfield section, and it seems like despite that little mess up, Beloff's not really been able to pressure the advantage. It remains as they are. And still up at the front here, Tidgney keeping Yomas at arm's length. And I just wonder whether that is his strategy, because especially if he is one of these guys on a one-stop, Jimmy, then he is going to be helping his cause just so much by being in the slipstream, which means that you can short shift and not lose as much speed on the straights. It's a big advantage.
Well, also it's worth noting, again, we mentioned the fuel being a constant. You start with this amount of fuel, that's everyone starts with the same fuel.
Yeah.
That when you are short shifting, your stop is less, because you come in as you leave it as long as possible. You can't go the extra lap, even with extreme short shifting. So you have to come in around the midway point, or you can opt for the two-stop. I'm talking about a one-stop strategy right now, to be clear, sorry. So people may come in, maybe they'll have 15 litres left in the tank.
Yeah.
That means there's going to be less time for them in the pits being fueled, so they ultimately get out a bit earlier. So that may be what Tidgney and Derek are doing now. Maybe they're thinking, right, okay, the battling's not going to help our fuel consumption here. Let's just follow each other around, short shift a bit, and try and save a little bit of time in the pits.
Should be mentioned, I guess we should be expecting our first pitters, if they are going on to the two-stop strategy, if not this lap, then next lap. Probably lap 4, I'd wager.
Lap 3 or 4, yeah. So it'll be either end of this lap or end of next. We'll have some info on that right now, because our leading pack are coming up to the final corner. Here is GTP Adam, 2.7 seconds now is his gap. Does he peel into the pit lane? No. This is someone we think GTP Adam might be on the one-stop, considering a lot of our info on the one-stop has come from Adam.
Yeah.
So it might be that he's choosing that strategy. No one choosing to come into the pit lane as of yet. We might see someone try someone different. No, looks like they're all committing so far to either a late two-stop or maybe that one-stop. We'll know in about a lap's time. GTP Adam, though, is extending that gap at the front.
Absolutely, and we should be clear as well. It's not like you can just decide on a whim, oh no, I want to switch to the one-stop strategy. If you're on that two-stop, you have to be committed to it. You have to be going full beans. And maybe that is something that Derek was doing early on. He's definitely just eased off a little bit going into the slipstream of Tidgney. He's found it difficult to even try and attempt to move. I did notice Alexany and Lightning down in P13 and P14.
They're having a score right now. Here
quick,
it is. So we're on board. Sorry, James. We're on board with Lightning to the inside of Alexany. Will he give them the place into the long left-hander? He's got the inside line, but Alexany's got the run, and he will have the position still into this right-hander. Very tricky right-hander. It's blind as you come to it, so you have to know where to turn in. And if you turn in a bit too early, it's a flat curb. You can quite easily go on the inside of it and pick up a penalty. Lightning, again, really playing with fire there when it comes to the grass. Now, here is a good opportunity to overtake. Long straight. Will TRL Lightning use the slipstream? Saying that, here comes Derek. Derek on the outside of GTA Tidgney. What happened back there? Looks like Tidgney had a bad run out of the long right-hander onto the back straight there, which allowed Derek just to get alongside. Here is a replay of it.
No, it's just pure slipstream.
Just slipstream. I think maybe Tidgney has the engine turned down as much as possible. Derek goes, all right, I'll turn mine up then.
Yep.
Past he goes. Look at the difference there.
That, if that isn't fuel mode, I would be very surprised indeed. Derek then, as soon as you say he's taking a break, he's like, nope, I'm going to go on to extra time, thank you very much. And he's moved his way into the podium position. I just wonder whether he is going to be coming in at the end of this lap, because it would be supreme tyre management if he is on the one-stop. He's been going too fast for me to be thinking this guy is, you know, not needing to worry about fuel management and tyre management and all that good stuff. We are coming around this double right-hand apex. Now, I know that the official track map that we've got says 19 corners. The GT Wikipedia says 21. I'm willing to go with that as well, hence the double right-hand apex. Kind of similar to the Circuit of the Americas in a number of ways. So just trying to follow the car behind you is a good thing. As Adam talking about following, he's got no one to follow. Almost goes into the wall. Oh, there we go.
Two stop for Jonas in the background. We think.
And Derek.
Derek, look at that fuel for Derek there. He was on the boost. James, you were right.
Called
that
it.
Fuel mode there just makes it into the pits. So does the Rosian
and Lightning as well.
Talk about cooling it. Wow. Okay, so we now have what is potentially a split race, and you might notice I'm getting a bit excited about that, because it means everything's going to come together at the end. We're going to have cars that are faster than others, cars that are slower, and importantly for you guys at home, it means a great climax to this race. But we're not there yet. Now, some of the guys coming in, they've released some of the other drivers. TRL Lightning, of course, is someone who's looking to get a bit of free air and get out there and try and get some time, and he's been struggling in traffic a little bit as well. Fuveros down there as well. We also have Matu, who's moved up. He's not pitted in so far. But towards the front, RC Snake 91 is now on the back of GTA Tidgney. So you see Tidgney really struggling for pace now, falling back into the second pack.
And we're starting to enter already the phase for those one-stoppers. Lap 5, lap 6. That is when we're expecting them. It's when do they want to pull the trigger? more than if, I guess, because they want to be, of course, getting to the end of the race, not just with the knowledge that they've got enough fuel to go to the end, but also with as fresh tyres as possible. So this first stint, crucial for them to try and stretch it as long as possible and then have as much at their disposal to defend off those rampant two-stoppers that will be coming, we think, at the end, maybe last couple of laps or so. This race could not be set up more perfectly.
Now you might think, why would you not do a two-stop if you're going to be super quick at the end of the race? And two things. One, you have an extra pit stop.
Yep.
So that's extra time in the pits, extra time not going at racing speed. And secondly, track position. You might be faster than the guy in front, but if the guy in front has a car as wide as the bridge coming up, then you're not going to be getting past him. You know, there are really great defenders out there. The only thing I'd put on the end of that is to say the people on the one stop is going to be tighter on fuel for them. So they aren't going to be able to defend with fuel, which is track position. And as we've seen already, Derek on Tisney a couple of laps ago, having the right fuel mode, you can just drive past someone.
It is full-on attack with a little bit of fuel conservation.
Oh, understeer.
Goodness
there
me,
from
Beloff, versus this situation. Damage control, damage limitation. And Zocchi, he's been able to eke off a little bit of that time penalty since we were last with him. 3.5 now down to 2.8. But he's got to be careful because here's Atho as well looking to take advantage of the German Beloff.
The gap.
Yeah, the
gap
at the front. Yeah, I did not notice how big that had gotten. Adam now 10 seconds clear of Tidgney there in P2.
He'll be in the
Is that him in the pits?
Whoa,
It is him in the pits.
Wait a minute, three wide for second place. Tidgney cannot defend. Beloff goes around the outside. That snuck up on us. They're all in that fuel safe mode. I think Tidgney's out of fuel.
He must be.
He's out of fuel or low on fuel in the pits. There he is.
They all in,
1 litre left. I think he ran it a bit too long and actually lost time coming to the pits. That is disaster for Tidgney because now he's going to come out behind all these people. Longer pit stop and slower into the pits. Absolute disaster for the Brit.
For any aspiring commentators out there, that is why you don't go just full eyes on the timing screen. Massive, massive problem there for Tidgney. I thought he was running it fine, but clearly he was running it aggressively, even for his strategy. So GTP Adam, interestingly, actually comes out in the lead of this race, 3 seconds clear of Yomas on a two-stop.
Now, if Yomas needs to start gaining very soon,
yeah.
If GTP Adam starts bridging this gap, starts pulling away from Yomas, then that's pretty much it over for the two-stoppers. Oh well, in terms of the lead anyway. But now back to this fight for 4th position. TRL Lightning finds himself in 6th place after the two-stop strategies come into play. He does have to pit again, of course, but he's got a bit. He's got a bit of clean air. He's got TRL Viveros in front as well. Will we see team orders come into play here? We mentioned it before, the TRL guys are all part of the Team Redline squad. The thing is, though, if you are in the top 24, there's not really much to worry about. You're probably going to go through to the next round, to the final. But, of course, if there are some points that are up for grabs, I'm sure TRL Lightning would like to have them. And again, bear in mind, these guys are all racing drivers. They all want to finish as high as possible.
Worth emphasising as well, this is the Nations Cup. Not a Teams Cup, not a Manufacturers Cup, this is the Nations Cup. You are getting as many points to qualify within your nation. And for Lightning and Viveros, well, they're from different countries, and so I can absolutely imagine why they would want to be battling so hard. On board now here with Alexany, ahead of Tidgney, Snake, Atho, Beloff. They've all jumped him, and it's crucial to remember these guys are all on the one-stop strategy as well. So we're looking up at Yomas, Derek, Benito, Viveros, Lightning. They're all going to have to jump back down the order. I tell you what, Jimmy, I'm looking at Adam and I'm thinking he's in a very good position.
He's got a penalty.
He does, but everyone behind him has got a pit stop to do.
I don't know. I don't really know about this. Yomas needs to really start reeling in the gap. He is starting to do so. It's come down about half a second this lap alone, but he's going to be in a couple of laps time. So, well, here it is now. Visually, we're on board with the GTR of Yomas 74. There is your leader, GTP Adam in front. You can see the red bar under his name as well, which just shows you the penalty is there. So Yomas with it all to do behind him. Derek as well in third with Benito Raul, someone we've not seen so far in the top lot. He's up in 4th position but does have a penalty. Here he is leading this little 3-car train for us there, and Lightning in the background who's dropped off a bit from his teammate.
So a very interesting situation indeed. I am curious as to when Yomas pits, or whether, Jimmy, there is yet another twist in the tail. Can they go to the end from that early pit stop? Azori, in fact, there he still had his one stop to complete. He has now done that. And I am... Actually, hold on. No, is he in for a second stop?
I think he's in for a second stop. I don't think you can go that long on the fuel.
Really?
Our graphic will update in a bit and let us know. But I'm very sure that should have been his second. But anyway...
Yeah, that is his second stop. Yeah, well done. Yep.
Here is Fivaros hounding Benito Raul there in fourth position. Benito Raul, not someone we've seen in the races so far. So
no.
Obviously someone who's a bit of a late comer to the series, and just go to show that you can still be here and still be in a chance of scoring good points. Doesn't matter when you join the series. Here is TRL Lightning again in the slipstream of TRL Fivaros. This long left-hander here, absolute nightmare for the front right tyre. You're putting so much force into it, and then, as if by magic, you then have to swing it to the right over this curb on the inside. You see how much curb? Wow, he gets so close to the grass every time. I always wonder if he thinks about his incident at Bathurst and thinks, well, maybe I need to be a bit more conservative. But I think once you start doing that, you need to maybe hang up the racing boots.
He's the sort of personality that won't get to him too much. He's always been a driver that's gone to the very edge, and he knows that sometimes he is going to be playing with fire, and he knows that all of his success has come from driving on the edge. So why would you change strategy now as we look up to Yomas here? We're just going to be going across the bridge.
He's fallen back.
He has. And with Azori in fact there, making his second pit stop, it does make me think that we are now in that stage where we are going to be looking to that second stop. Adam is so far ahead, Jimmy. I don't see how he can lose this race from here, honestly. Oh, a big save there as well from Yomas.
Famous last words.
Famous last words indeed.
Famous last words. I mean, you have to also bear in mind that he's going to have a lot more worn tyres than the cars around him as well. We have a ×10 wear multiplier on the tyres around here. So one lap of this nearly 3-minute circuit.
Fivaros.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah, Fivaros, who's that on the outside?
That's
slowing
Raul.
Down? Raul
Serving penalty.
Why is he trying to serve it now, I wonder? Maybe thinking it's better to do it now, but he lets the two TRL drivers in front, and there is no love lost between these two, are there? Nose to tail. We have Lightning in the GTR. We have Fivaros in the Lexus.
Adam
Nothing
in.
between these cars. Adam in the pits.
So Adam's on a 2-stop.
Wow. Okay, this could be
interesting. And Yomas in as well. So they were forced onto 2 stops. Derek in there as well.
Is anyone one-stopping? Have we got this right at all? Derek's got no fuel. He's coming on fumes.
Again. Well.
This could be interesting.
So Beloff. Is Beloff in? No, Beloff's not in.
GTP Adam there with his penalty, only 0.9 of a second. Yoma's coming out as well. The gap now up to 6 seconds to back to Beloff, and importantly back to Yomas as well. I wonder what sort that he came in. Maybe he wanted a slow first stint and then a fast second stint, but struggling to wrap my mind around that strategy there, 2-stop, but we'll get back to you once we figure it out. But now, VP Beloff becomes a cork in the bottle.
You know what? I think he's been very clever. You know, I was talking earlier about, it's best not to change strategies. You can't change strategies if you're committed to a 2-stop. What if Adam was looking behind him and thinking, I've got enough of a gap over Beloff here, who's going to be committed to a 1-stop. I've got enough of a gap on Yomas here because he's committed to a 2-stop. What reason is there for me not to come in for a second stop anyway? Because then that guarantees me fuel until the end, that guarantees me tyres until the end. I'm wondering whether he switched, knowing that we might have just seen a masterstroke pulled there.
Oh, maybe that's why the gap wasn't coming down. Yeah, it turned up. It wasn't fuel saving at all. He was going at it on the slightly more worn tyres and pulling away. I mean, GTP Adam obviously a bit too much for us in the comms booth here. Less of that, please, mate. You're making us look bad. But let's see.
7.4 clear.
And he's trying to serve the penalty. He's got all the time in the world. But look at this train behind him. This is second down to 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th place, all in one frame of your shot. There's Matthew there in 12th. So the race is far from over in the midfield. GTP Adam might be putting his feet up, but these guys are still going at it. We have Derek here giving us a great view of Lexoni, who's bang in the middle of this train behind RC Snake. Now, what do you do now? A lot of these guys have only taken 1 stop so far.
I do reckon they're going to be sticking to that as well, honestly. I think this is the crossover that we were expecting, and here comes the first of the two stoppers through on the one stopper, Yomas. I wish I could call it an exciting overtake, but it was expected in the end. He eases his way past Belov, and now, at least for Belov, he knows that he's got to defend off Atho because he's on the same strategy.
Now watch Yoma through here. He'll pull away from VP Belov because of a tyre wear around here. Belov will not be able to compete for this fast right-hander. It's pretty much flat through there. Look at the gap already extending there. So now it's a case of getting past VP Belov as quick as possible. If I were him, I would just stay out on track and make a nuisance. Pitting now, you'll finish highest 15th, 16th position. You can stay out there, fight, you might get up to 10th. But of course, as a very famous commentator once said, catching someone is one thing, getting by is quite another. And here it is, VP Belov coming down to T1. Will RC Atho, he looks to the inside. I don't think he'll make a move there. He's essentially doing the racing equivalent of going, hello, I'm behind you, look out, look at me, don't look at the apex, look at your mirrors. And that worked, it's worked. Belov has gone wide, and there comes RC Atho. Maybe he heard me calling to him and he went a bit wide there.
Well, we were talking about distracting scenes, Jimmy. I think you waving at the sides of the track, that might just top the list.
Look at him, he's struggling so much
now. Flying down the order, down to P5. Yomas, Atho, Snake, all past him in those last couple of corners. And now he's got the albeit penalty-stricken Alexini behind him. I'm looking further down the order as well to the second or the third at this point of the two stoppers. Derek down in P12, so he's in this massive train, but he's going to have mode 1 at his disposal as well. I'm looking at the straight, and I am scared for some of these drivers because they are going to be gobbled up.
They will be, and of course if you don't attack, then you're going to have that fuel at the end, but it's hard to say whether you're going to make it or not. One of the big casualties of this race, I think, for me, is GTA Tijani, starting second on the grid, down to 7th position now, not having a good time out there now. He's currently stuck behind Alexoni, who does have a penalty, so that will benefit him, of course, but look, he's really feisty right now. He's looking to get by. Maybe he's worked out his fuel a bit better for this second stint. He's going to have the slipstream now coming down this back straight. Will he turn it up at all? Bit of a short shift, I think, there. He does sort of have a little bit of a run on Alexoni. Will he dive to the inside? I don't think he's going to be close enough here for the overtake. Wow, you see Alexoni there actually serving a little bit of his penalty in a straight line.
That's clever.
And actually backing up GTA Tijani. I'm sure he'll have some choice words in his virtual helmet after that, but hey-ho.
Yeah, I think Alexini at current rate might actually finish outside the top 10.
That's how close it is.
That is how close it is. That's if he doesn't serve his penalty in a clever way. Of course, this bridge, another opportunity to lose a little bit of that. Koke actually behind, only with 0.3. And so Derek, I notice, moving up the order to P12. Here's Snake in P4. So it's a triple French threat behind the Brit Adam.
Zocchi past Adam.
Zocchi past Adam. Derek up past Manu Rodri as well. These mode differences starting to play big effects on this race.
Well, it has to now. We're coming on to the
final lap. Yeah, it's flown by this race, but what a fascinating spectacle. We've seen some great overtakes, Jimmy, but in terms of strategy, this might just be the cherry of Season 3.
Yes, and I'm very much looking forward to this climax now onto the last lap. Here comes GTP Adam, casual as you like. Look at that behind him, absolutely no one even in view. He can really afford to take it easy. I say that, his last lap was a 2:46, the fastest lap of the race by quite some way. So I say take it easy. He is putting the nail in this otherwise very well sealed coffin of this race at the moment. Yomas in second place, but that is not where the fight is. Here is the fight on your screen. Here's GTA Tissue coming through T1. Alexoni in front of him, and behind him is Adam, and we're on board, it's Zocchi, and we're on board with him now in that fantastic sounding NSX Honda up through T2. Very tricky, that one. Very easy to miss the apex here. This is where people are going to have saved their fuel for. They're thinking, right, okay, one last attempt, one last bite of the cherry. Can I get some more points? Just a reminder, this is a double points race. Every position counts in the final standings.
Two cherry metaphors in the case of a minute. It's getting fruity here at Circuit de Sainte-Croix. I'm just going to throw off the French accents as much as I can there. And the French people will not like me for it because no doubt I'll get something wrong. Hoping not to get something wrong is Tijani here, who's trying to fend off his fellow Brit Zocchi. Remember, these points so important for Tijani, who's been on the precipice of that top 3 in the British stage of the Nations Cup. At the moment, he's not going to be getting there, though. And a little mistake on exit might see Zoki88 not only alongside him, but through as well. He might have just blipped up the mode just a little bit there. But now, here is the return. Yeah, here is the slipstream. Tijni tucks up nicely. Alexini ahead. He's a little bit far ahead for Zoki to take a massive advantage out of it. But the Lexus, again, struggling in that slipstream. And Zoki88 doesn't even have to defend.
No, he doesn't this time. Pulled out to try and overtake Tijni and was met with a lot of air that slowed him down. Alexei tried to serve a little bit of that penalty on the straight. It's not going to be enough. He's going to be passed by all these people. 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, all in frame. Ridiculously close right now.
And Derek behind, I noticed, has picked up a penalty as well. So he might not necessarily be in the best place position because Koke, he's still only got that 0.3 to serve. So he's in a relatively decent position for potentially holding on to that top 10. It is so close here in the midfield as Zoki dives through on Alexini, who still has penalty to serve. He makes sure that he gets it done on track. Zoki up to P6 there, but we have to go back up to the front, I think, because someone who's not had to battle all day long is your points leader. It's surely one of the forces to look forward to going into the regionals. It is Adam who rounds the final corner. He took us on a tour of this track. He takes us on a tour of how to win in style. He's P1. But now, the question for the podium. Yomas looks clear, Atho looks clear. Behind, it's anyone's game, Jimmy.
It is, and here comes Yomas across the line now. We don't want to see that, though. We want to see the midfield battle. Let's see where everyone is. There is Atho, there is Snake. VP Beloff in 5th position, flashing his lights. Where is RC Zoki? There he is, Neno on the background, Tijni 7th. Koke 8th. Adam 9th, Benito Raul 10th with TRL Manu Rodri and TRL Lightning coming back to finish in 12th position. Wow, look at all those gaps there. They came thick and fast. We almost missed them coming across the line there. And TRL Fivros, I'm sure, ruining what could have been a better race for him. But still, that midfield, wow, you could... you can't separate those. They're just all together. That's it.
Jimmy, Lightning gained 5 positions on that last lap alone. He didn't have a great race, but goodness me.
Best lap.
Best lap as well. He had the last lap of his life to at least take home B12 behind his teammate Manu Rodri. Adam, though, if he changed the strategy midway through that race, that might just be the strategy call of the season, Jimmy. A 10-second lead over anyone else, regardless of strategy. Big performance, big statement.
He just made everyone else look silly out there today, and that is the race you want as someone who's looking to really put a stamp on this championship. He went out there and did it with style and increases his lead at the top of the nation standings.
And so, final confirmation of your order then. Adam from the triple French threat of Yomas and Atho rounding out the podium. Snake 91 got himself involved and came out with a P4. Very nice effort from him. Beloff there, P5. Zoki, Tijni, Koke, Adam and Benito Raul talking about new people joining the championship. I think he will be delighted with P10. And even if you are joining in this stage, Jimmy, regardless of whether you're looking to try and push a late qualifying charge or not for the regionals, there's always 2019 to look forward to, of course. So why not measure yourself up against the best now?
Yep, I mean, top 10 performance for someone who's ultimately a little bit unknown to us as in the comms guys is definitely nothing to be ashamed of. I guess point of this race would be to talk about the big losers, I'd say, and I say DJ Tijni started 2nd, finished 7th. Not quite sure how that's going to affect him in terms of mentality.
Yeah.
He obviously had the pace to be there, but the race strategy wasn't there, and of course wasn't helped at all by the fact that he ran it so close coming into the pit lane, because he came in, I think, without any fuel. So he came in very slowly, lost a lot of time there, and to put that into perspective, just that one mistake probably cost him about 5 seconds.
But to be fair as well, I mean, we look at that battle early on between Tijni and Derek, and yet Tijni still went ahead of Derek. So I think fundamentally the one-stop strategy worked, but if you got those fuel amounts right, if you know exactly what you're doing on the two-stop, I mean, it just showed there. We had the one-stop winning in Asia Oceania. The two-stop won by miles, and we think it was made on the fly. I mean, that's incredible to me as someone who loves strategy, that you could just do that and go, oh, sure, fine, it's all good.
Yeah, I think more of this, please, Mr. Scriptwriter, if you wouldn't mind. That will do us just fine. And again, as it might be a little bit tricky to follow for us in the comms booth, but it's so great to see it all play out, because you get this crescendo at the end of all these cars at different speeds. And of course, a very exciting, very close finish. I just wish we could have maybe seen a bit more of the midfield battle, just because it was so intense. We missed a little bit of it, but hey-ho, more to look forward to.
Well, talking of scripts, I'm afraid that ours comes to an end now. This was round 8 of the final season of 2018, and the races are back in action next Saturday, 8 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. across Europe, and it is the big one, the final round of the final season of this first ever FIA certified Gran Turismo Championship season. We'll be here to record all the action again, of course, and thank you all very much for watching. Big thank you to my co-commentator, Jimmy. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.
You gotta catch me if you can. You gotta catch me.